All right, so we have 23 in here. I guess we can just go ahead and start.
I was say it's
Let
not even
me
11:30 yet.
turn you up. Yeah, it's a popular talk, I guess. And also it's a little lighter on the schedule now. I don't think we're competing with anybody right now, and Jeannie's talk is over, so it's pretty natural for people to come in here. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Jeff. Yeah, all of you who have um, obtained captive bred babies, either from me directly or from Josh's Frogs, if people ask questions in the streaming chat, feel free to tag that person and answer them. If we get a lot of questions, we're probably going to have a hard time keeping up with them all. So you guys who have done it know about it from that side, which is also useful. Grace and I just know about it from the packaging up and sending outside, not the ordering and receiving. And you guys have a little bit unique perspective. But we are basically here to answer questions. We don't have anything prepared. We have our knowledge and we have a willingness. So I'll start with the first question I see. What are the baby most haves of, I believe, calcium, a really good, very finely ground calcium mix. Mine eat that. So I have a lot of captive bred babies in a 55-gallon tank. I don't know how many exactly because it's kind of hard to tell. Probably 100 now, maybe. And some are very small, but I put a tablespoon of calcium in there every day, every 2 days, and it's gone. And they just eat it. Dakota, I don't know that they have to be more finely ground. The calcium does, like when I put in a chicken eggshell, they don't eat it. It's too hard for the littler babies. But when I put in an empty robin's egg that I find outside, which is softer and more delicate, they devour that. That doesn't last the night. So I know they want it and they need it, but they can't always. I don't know. Maybe their pinchers are a little not quite as strong, but yeah. So calcium, the baby wheel, or saucer. Do you have the saucer too, Grace, or do you just have the wheel, the baby size?
We just have the baby saucer.
And do yours use it?
Yeah, the tank was, or both of the tanks were recently moved. The cat wants out. They were both recently moved up to another floor, so I don't get to see them every day like I used to. But yes, they are on the wheel constantly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they started here and they use it here, so I guess it makes sense that they would use it there and in their new homes. They do love to travel. They love to play. They love to climb. We have found that the babies like their sand very damp, but they like to be able to climb up high and dry. I've tested the humidity. I have a gradient in the tank. I've tested the humidity up high where they like to roost, and it's like 60%. But they can get down, they can get to water, they can get to the damp sand. So these are things we're learning from the babies. We would have thought 80-80 all the time, everywhere was necessary. But in the very beginning, we had some keepers who were keeping their humidity for the babies so high, 90%, with nowhere to get drier, and they actually died. They didn't do very well. They couldn't get their exoskeletons to dry. And so babies need humidity, but they need the ability to get away from humidity. In the wild, you see babies a lot on the beaches where the sand is very damp, but the sun is very hot, the rocks are hot and dry, so we're thinking it's giving them both those things is important if you can do it. There is no limit to how high they can climb, Courtney. They will climb to whatever you give them. And they fall, they're clumsy, but they're very sturdy. They're very like regular babies, like bounce. Excuse me. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit from all the talking. I like Jeff's question. Grace, what was it like to partner with Mary and be the first retailer to offer captive bred hermit crabs? I want to know that too.
I guess what it was like for me personally, I remember when I first learned that there were captive bred babies, and I was shocked because every other source I said like, oh, they're all wild caught. There's nothing that can be done about that. And then when I found Mary's site, I was like, wow, that's like so cool. And I saw you had to be like approved to adopt them. And I'm like, oh man, I'd never be approved. I could never do that. But it's really cool just to appreciate from afar. And I like seeing on the Land Hermit Crab Owner Society Facebook group, I loved seeing like people's pictures. It's like, oh, this is cool. But then just because I talk about hermit crabs a lot at work, I remember when Josh, the owner of the company, walked by and I was talking about captive bred hermit crabs. He was like, really? Are you serious? He also had no clue that was a possibility. And since Josh's Frogs is really passionate about keeping wild caught animals in the wild and breeding captive animals just so that they can be pets, both Josh and Zach, who is another director there, they were both really interested and excited about the possibility of partnering, possibly even bringing on the babies. And I was really nervous about it because I know like Mary's like babe was basically the only one doing it. They were like super special. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool if you could promote them, do a little blog post about them or something. But I didn't think that there was going to be any way that we would be able to do a direct partnership and bring the babies on at joshsfrogs.com. And yeah, I remember the first Zoom call with Mary. That was really cool. And it had gone so much better than I had hoped. And I remember when Mary said that she'd be able to ship us just like 10 babies to start, just to see what they were like and take care of them. And I had them in a 20-gallon tank next to my desk in the office. And everyone who walked by, they would always stop and look at them. They were just so cute. And so maybe I'm going off on a tangent here, but
no, a tangent I love. Because I don't really know the behind the scenes stuff. So
but no, I was really nervous at first. It was kind of scary figuring out how to take care of these new animals because there's very few people at Josh's Frogs that had any hermit crab experience. But I don't know. It's just been really amazing. And every time we post about them on our social media, people always seem shocked that they're captive bred.
As they should be.
Go on about it here. You would think, oh, everyone has to know this by now, but people don't. And then I also loved taking them to shows. I only take them to shows that I personally go to. But I always love talking to people at shows about them as well. So
yeah, they travel well. Stacy takes them to shows. Evie takes them to Becca. Like pretty much everybody doing shows, I think, takes them to the shows because they're small and cute and active. They're active a lot of the daytime. I always think I see them so often because I have so many, but other people who have, 5 or 6 or 7 say they see them all the time too. So, I just think they're active little guys. Yeah. So we tried before Grace reached out to me. ORA, Oceans, Reefs, and Aquariums reached out to me, but they wanted captive bred babies, but they wanted them at the price that you get them in from the wild. Like, that was the thing that I was really adamant about. I'm not doing this so they can sell for $6 and be a throwaway pet. Plus, I'd be stupid to do that because it takes thousands of dollars to raise them. So that was something that we talked about, Grace, when we had our Zoom call. I said, can we keep the pricing model the same? We want to value these guys. We want them to be seen as, the exotic pets that they are. And you guys were like, yeah. I mean, you said we'll get back to you, but then pretty quickly you were like, yeah, we'll do it. And that was just this huge moment of relief, because at that point I still had so many 2019 babies. In the year 2019, I got 729 to land. And I thought this was going to happen every year, which it doesn't. That was some weird freak year. And I was sitting on all these bags. I was like, I don't even know, how am I going to ever adopt them out by myself, two at a time? And it's never going to change the industry if they all have to come from me. So the fact that we could move into the retail sector with respectful, world-renowned company that values captive breeding and that only sells captive bred animals has been incredible. And as far as I'm concerned, if you can handle what we can produce, I want you to be our only supplier. I mean, I think I've probably told that to you, but I just trust when we give them to you guys that they're going to be cared for, they're going to be shipped carefully, they're going to have follow-up care with the people if they need it. That is all for someone who puts so much time in and effort and love, to know that they're getting that same level of care somewhere else before they go out to their forever homes. It's just a great thing. Sorry, I'm ignoring the comments because I had to give Grace some love and Josh's frogs. Do you foresee generations of captive bred hermit crabs letting the captive? Yeah, so second generation. We already have Sue Brown in Australia has already got captive bred second generation by the father. The father is a captive bred baby from, I think, 2016. And he has since, his name is Monster, and he's a monster breeder. The females are all still wild caught crabs, but we're working on it. Last year, I got the first females from my 2018 captive bred babies that I kept for the breeding program. Those were the first in my tank to carry eggs and be a partial second generation. So the father was still wild caught. The mothers were captive bred babies. We are selecting, I am, and Darcy will be, we are selecting certain individuals to keep for the captive breeding program if they have beautiful coloration, because I have a female that's very purple. She's a purple pincher, but she's purple all over. She's gorgeous, Lola. So any of her offspring that show that same coloration, I'm keeping for the breeding program. I have an extremely social female, Artemis, who never hides, comes right up to the glass. She has red eyes, sort of the reddish eyes that they get. She's wonderful. Any of her babies that show those characteristics I keep. So sociability, color, and partially I'm keeping some of the ones that grow very slowly but seem healthy. That way they are, they have a gene apparently to mature a little more slowly, so they stay babies longer. They're still just as healthy. They still molt all the time. They get darker in color, but they don't seem to grow as quickly as some of the others. So those are the three things I am selecting for. Darcy will be selecting for those with her success from last summer. And she may add another component, but those are the three things that I look for. What was the hardest thing about captive breeding? It depends. That answer depends on what day you ask me. Whatever I'm doing at the time is the hardest part of captive breeding, but probably it might be the shells, getting the tiny little baby shells. They fit under your fingernail. They're that small. The most popular one is a larval whelk, which there's a whelk egg casing you can find on the beach and break it open, and it has little whelk shells in it that never matured. It's sand. If you were to walk on a beach, you would walk on it and you would think it was sand. Those are very hard to find, very hard to source. We don't know if the babies will take them. You can't see if they, why or why not they would work for them. So that's been really hard. The good thing about that is I can keep using them. Once they come to land, it's only a few days usually before they take another larger shell, different shell, whatever. So I very carefully retrieve those baby clothes and save them and keep reusing them. But yeah, that's really, really hard, especially if you get 700 to land. You have to have 700 that they will use. Aura asks, do you think the purple pincher babies prefer round O-shaped shells too? You would be surprised. Grace, don't you see that a lot of the purple pincher, like year-old babies, are taking D-shaped openings?
Oh, yeah. Much less of them are in O shapes, I'd say.
Yeah.
More of them are in D shapes.
Yeah, yeah. I found that too. They do, as far as I know, my oldest captive bred babies are 4 years old. Those are moving into turbos now. And plenty take openings of O too, like the periwinkles. The periwinkles have been the favorite. I think all the different species, from the tiny blue periwinkle to the rock periwinkle, the striped periwinkle, like almost any kind of periwinkle.
I wish they
like
sizes.
Yeah. Aren't they adorable? Yeah, and if you think about it, on the coastline, you see a lot of, like rocky coastlines especially, you see a lot of periwinkles next, attached to the rocks and stuff. So probably those are available shells, available in the water before they crawl out even. So yeah, turbo snails. Yeah, if you want to raise turbo snails, those teeny tiny ones. Oh, Aura, you're in Alaska, aren't you? Or you traveled to Alaska. So the very first shells that were amazing, that worked, came to me from a crab keeper in Alaska. Her username on HCA is Wolf Nipple Chips. Shadow Hafner is her name, but she went to the beach in Alaska and found minuscule, just picked up a handful of sand and picked out a bunch of miniature, incredibly tiny turbo shells. I'm still using those. They're gorgeous. My website has a couple of pictures of babies wearing them out and out of the water, wearing them to walk out of the water. And so they do love those too. They're thin enough when the turbos are like newborn. So yeah, if you get any of those, or you have losses or whatever, talk to me and I will buy them off of you for the breeding program. Lauren, if we come across baby shells, where can we send them? Either to me or to Darcy. If you post in the Lycos group, that usually gets seen, or someone tags us. We may ask to see them because not every tiny baby shell works. The little tiny spiral ones are great. The smallest spiral ones, like you can find in live sand. That was another source where I found them initially. I bought live sand and picked through with a magnifying glass to find with tweezers. You can't even pick them up. They're just too tiny. So you use tweezers, but thank you, Aura. That'd be awesome. Donna says the babies she got in November are in nutmeg shells. Yeah, nutmeg's super popular. I'll show you what a nutmeg is for those who don't know. This is a nutmeg shell. And that's, I guess, more of a D opening. Yeah. Or what is that? Not quite even a D. This is another shell that's been very popular. That's not an O opening. I think you have some of those, don't you, Grace?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, we don't really know what they take. When I send out adoptions, which I'm not doing very much of, but occasionally I am, I send shells with them that I know they'll wear, but I also send weirdo shells just in case, and ask the owners to let me know if by chance, Cancellary is the same as nutmeg. So we're still experimenting. Sometimes they take the really cute candy stripe shell. I think that's a tree snail from the Caribbean. But yeah, they will take lots of things. Some, and just like adult hermits, some seem to like the really light shells, and some seem to like the biggest armored, heavy thing they can carry around. Yeah, I like that candy stripe too, Stacy. Dakota asked, do you think they're so active because they're used to the hairless ape caretakers watching them? I have hair, just not here. I think in part, yeah. I mean, I have been picking these babies up from birth. If you count pipetting them with, using an eyedropper to move them, they wouldn't be here if I didn't pick them up, if I didn't handle them. It's required to get them to where they are. So they have experienced a certain amount of handling. For a while, I was working on handling the ones that I kept to get them more used to it, but it's too hard with everything else to like schedule time to hang out with the captive bred babies. But yeah, I don't know. I do. They've had this looking at them from birth, and they still do. So, do you want to add anything, Grace?
Yeah, I'd say because I have both wild caught and captive bred here, and I noticed the captive bred babies are more likely to come out at night. I think someone else mentioned that in the baby talk before this, but whenever I do approach the tank, they're more likely to just stay in place than run away or roll up. Because a lot of my wild caughts, if they suddenly see me, they either turn around and run away as fast as they can, or they'll roll up into a ball. So
yeah,
but the babies are much more likely to stay where they are.
And you have them in the same tank, right?
Yes, I do.
I did wonder if maybe they would learn the hiding behavior from my wild caught crabs, but mine don't seem to. The babies are still just curious and interested for the most part. Again, I'm keeping for myself, for the breeding program, I'm keeping the ones that are more sociable anyway. Just like adult crabs, they have those different personalities. There are very shy babies. We're hoping to slowly get more and more sociable babies from careful breeding. But again, and I just want to say this to everyone too, we call it the breeding program. It's not really breeding in the sense that you take two dogs and put them together and they're going to give you babies. We have to kind of give them the right conditions, give them their own little habitat, and then they're either going to give us babies or they're not. And if they mate successfully and have eggs, that's still only half of the equation. They still have to spawn correctly in the salt water. My mantra is let them be crabs. So I don't do a lot of intervention. I am happy with whatever the crabs gift me, and I do my best to bring their babies to land, but I am not some Machiavellian in control of everything they do and who breeds and whatever. So I'm saving and introducing to my population babies that I want to pass their genes along. But, they got to do their part. The crabs have to do their part. Yeah, it doesn't work with hermit crabs, Stacy. I let them be crabs whenever possible. You can see my tank. I can't. I have an all-in-one monitor, so my camera is attached to this giant monitor, so I can't really do more than that. But that's my big tank, and I've shown my tank a lot in the Lycos group. If you do a search in there, you can see, and you can see Grace's looks great. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, there's a 90-gallon on the bottom and then another 90-gallon on top. It has sliding doors. I prefer the sliding door tanks instead of the front opening tanks as much. I think it's because they stick together better. There's less gaps when they slide versus open all the way. And this is a
No, go ahead. I don't know the sliding door, so I'm interested.
Yeah, like I said, the glass like it kind of like overlaps and they just slide back and forth, and instead of like pulling them open. And then this is a 110 on the bottom, so all of these have the same base as like a 90 or 75, just like a little bit taller. And yeah,
That's beautiful. That's
I'm
beautiful. Go ahead.
I'm really hoping we're thinking about maybe moving within the next year, and my husband's thinking about upgrading his fish tank, so I'm hoping to get his 125 and upgrade and keep all my crabs together.
Nice. Nice. I found that the babies like very bright light. Have you found that, Grace?
Um, like I said, I actually don't see my babies out as much during the day. I usually see them after lights off. So
Do they roost up high for you?
usually when I see them, they are up higher, yes. But I mean, they could be out right now. As you can see, they're in this top tank here. I wanted to get them because this has the best range of humidity and
Yeah.
light up there. So they have more choices. But I actually have some foliage along the top, and they're so small.
Yeah.
So if they're sitting up there right now, I would never know. Since there's
Right.
more places for them to hide, I don't get to see their behaviors as much. When I
Yeah.
used to keep them in the 20-gallon at my desk, it had a ledge up top, and they were almost always up there, up
Yeah.
close to the thing. So,
Yeah. I use really bright, people always ask this, so I'm just going to mention it. I use really bright, full spectrum plant lights. They do generate some warmth, but again, that seems okay. The babies like to get up really high and dry. It's very warm. I told you the humidity in the place where many of them roost up high was like between 65 and 70. And then the heat is probably 87, 89, just because it's right up near the lights. It's right at the top of the heat mat. They'll get behind those cocoa fiber things and just be right next to the heat mat. Used to terrify me. I gotta let them be crabs. That's where they want to be. That's what they love. But it's hot. I mean, it's warm. They have plenty of places to get cool. They can, and they're choosing to be up there where it's very warm. I have never done payment plans for the babies, Christina. I can barely keep my, just the idea of trying to remember that and everything. Um, I would consider reserving babies for someone while they get the amount that they need to adopt. But I'm not organized enough to do that. That's the short answer.
I believe Josh's frogs. I don't see what the exact question was, but I believe Josh's frogs partners or like does a program with PayPal called like a 4-step payment plan or something. So you can check out and you can use your PayPal account and they'll divide the payments up into 4 payments, I think.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I have seen that. I haven't enabled it because again, too hard. But
I was gonna say one thing I thought was really cool at Josh's Frogs is that we moved the baby tanks. They were down on the first floor in a non-animal area. I mean, it was an animal area. That's where the all the aquariums are, but it wasn't nearly as warm or humid as the other animal areas. So they're actually up on the same floor as our pet bugs right now, and the pet bug floor doesn't have any like the individual tanks don't have like heaters on them because they keep the floor at like 75 degrees, or I don't know the exact temperature, but it's really close to that. I was actually considering doing my talk there yesterday. I was in the room for 2 minutes and I was melting, so I wasn't able to do that yesterday because I wanted the baby tanks behind me. But so now the baby tanks, they're actually kept in a very warm, very humid room. They do not have the heat mat across the back, and they've been doing a lot better. They're a lot more active. Oh, and of course they have the LED light on top, which does give off a little bit of heat. And they've been doing a lot better for us after the move. Because since the room itself is so humid, it's never sucking the humidity out of the tank. So the sand is always wet. The heat mat doesn't dry out. And you don't have to mist them or anything, just with how the rooms are. And it's been amazing, that change. I
Yeah,
don't
that was smart.
I don't recommend turning your whole house into a hermit crab terrarium. They would love it.
Kathy, I have three e-babies, as I've said to many people many times, and I'm keeping every single one of them. Um, I had probably 30,000 spawn, and I got three to land. So those are miracle babies that I will be keeping for the breeding program for a second generation. I'm hoping to get more this summer, but again, it's up to the crabs. I'm keeping my eye on them. Courtney Moody just donated another Ecuadorian to my tanks. Grace sent me five, was
5 or
it?
6.
5 or 6 little ones, which probably aren't quite ready. But so we're working on Ecuadorians. I love them. They're blue as babies, bright blue, adorable, busy as anything, just really, really cute. Um, Erica, yes, I've had probably 3 or 4 straw spawns. I was unable to, I had hoped I'd gotten some to land. I ended up having to mix the Zoe, and I thought for sure some of them were straws, but I do not have any strawberry survivors. So that was a no-go. I have my large female. I saw mating behavior the day before CrabCon, so I'll be checking her in a little while, and hopefully I'll have another chance this year. Last year was awful for me. I moved in the 1st of June. Then we did CrabCon. Then, like I moved my whole house from New York to Virginia. It was crazy. And the crabs, that was hard on them, and they mated weird, and the exotics didn't even mate. So I'm hoping this year, now that I've been here a year, Darcy's having great success. She's having an abundance of crabs with eggs right now. So she is probably going to be the first one, other than Ecuadorians, with exotic species. She's been an amazing partner in Hermit House, and she's just doing incredible things. So we're getting there. It's all on our minds. Trust me. Trust me. Yeah, it's true, Dakota. Not all ventures are successes, and not all successes teach us as much as the failures do. So the failures have a part to play in learning this process. Our goal is to get a roadmap that other breeders can follow, to demystify the process, to make it simpler. And making it simpler requires experimenting with techniques that may not always be successful. And the only way to experiment is on live Zoe in the process of, so it's a real, we're not experimenting in the sense of like, but, can I do this? Will I get more survive? Great. Can I do this? Will I get more survive? Oh, no, not that one. So you don't do that anymore. So we're just learning as we go, and we're doing our best. And I always want to say to people who ask about exotics, when we do have exotics available for sale or for adoption, they will at first only go to people who have already kept captive bred purple pinchers. There's a learning curve. We need breeding to be we need it to be successful on the other end with the adopters. The way to do that is to make sure our adopters have the most experience, the best chance of survival, people that have been partnering with us to learn along the way. So this is not about being exclusive. It's about giving the babies the best chance for survival, giving the captive breeding program the best chance of continuing for the long term. Partnering with Josh's Frogs, we have to keep them involved. We have to continue to get babies to them so that they can keep offering them to the public, so it becomes a real valuable, viable enterprise. And we have long-term goals, very specific long-term goals. And the main goal in all of this is keeping wild hermit crabs in the wild. Plug for my talk on Sunday at 4, I think it is, the role of the wild hermit crab in a healthy ecosystem. They're important animals, and we need to keep them in the wild. So captive breeding is about that. First and foremost, it's also to get you more pet-like animals that you can enjoy, that are comfortable in captivity because they've never known anything but captivity.
And they won't need any quarantining.
Right. They're good to go. And they're not, they're not unfamiliar with people. Some may still be very shy, but you can bet I've been breathing down their necks from day one. Yeah, as Brenda says, yep, strawberries especially take special care. And we haven't mastered it yet with the Zoe, so they may take intense care as Zoe that we don't know, that we haven't figured out and unlocked. We're trying to unlock the puzzle. Yeah, no suffering in the pet trade, Stacy Griffith. Exactly. They're just living the life they were born into. Yes, raised with love and devotion and lots of sweat and anxiety. All right, we have the next, what's it, Yoon? Oh, I want to see that. Hermit crab. What do you see? Yeah, shall we wrap it up? Any more questions from anyone? Anything you want to add, Grace, that we didn't cover?
I don't think so, unless I haven't had any specific questions about Josh's frogs and the captive bred babies there. But
yeah, we both ship the same. We ship them overnight. You ship FedEx overnight. I ship UPS overnight. They're in insulated boxes. I can only ship during the warm summer months. Josh's frogs can ship well into late fall. And sometimes you ship directly to hubs where people can pick them up, right? Or stores. Yeah. So you're almost year round, right? Is that fair to say?
I remember there's a couple months like in, I don't know, like January, February was just too rough and a lot of orders were being held. But we hold orders indefinitely until they're able to ship.
Yeah, that's the awesome thing too. You can put your order in, and when the babies come up or when the weather approves or both, they'll ship them. And Grace has got her finger on the meteorological issues, keep a track. All right, I don't want to cut you guys short, but I think we probably covered it. There's if you have general baby questions, there will be one more baby talk on Sunday session with adopters who can tell you about it from their side, from their process. So you can get other questions answered there, but I really want to see Kelsey's talk. And you should too. All right, we good? Thank you guys for being here.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Grace.